Alveda King is the Director of Civil Rights for the Unborn and the African American Outreach Pastoral Associate of Priests for Life, and she joins us now on The Gist. Thanks so much for joining us today.
I'm so glad to join you, your viewers, your listeners, and even though I'm not sitting there with you, we're doing this by technology, but my heart is so with you today.
We are so happy that you are here. I want to first start with one of your job titles, Civil Rights for the Unborn. Tell me a little bit about your work and your mission.
As Director of Civil Rights for the Unborn with Priests for Life, I work to deal with the rights and the justice of the little baby in the womb, and of course the mothers as well, even the fathers and the families. It's not race-driven. We're one human race. So it's not so much about the African-American community, but all of the people of America and around the world. But there's a question that I've asked many times, and I'll phrase it it's in this manner. Yes, a woman has a right to choose what she does with her body, but the baby's not her body. So we have to ask, where is the lawyer for the baby? How can the dream survive if we murder those little children in the womb? And so we're dealing with their civil rights, and civil rights actually begin in the womb.
So you grew up in the civil rights movement, led, of course, by your uncle, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and your dad, Reverend A.D. King. What would they say about all of this?
Well, I got much of what I've just said there from my dad, Reverend A.D. King, my uncle, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and my granddaddy, Reverend Martin Luther King Sr. And he put it this way during his lifetime. And his sons, of course, agree because they read the same Bible. So that's how I know that this is part of the King family legacy. My mother became pregnant with me in 1950, and she wanted to finish college. In those days, whether you were married or single, you could not go to college and be pregnant. It was frowned upon. And so she wanted to get a procedure for a mysterious female ailment called a DNC, where they went with exploratory surgery and removed everything that was in the womb and looked at it. Now, because abortion was illegal, that was how they were able to slip under the wire with that. My grandfather, Daddy King, told my mom, "You can't do that. That would be an abortion." She's a little girl with bright skin and bright red hair, and she's going to bless many people. I'll be here, your father's deceased and all of that, but I'll be a better father to you than your own father. And we're going to have this little baby. I was born looking just like that. And in the 1970s, after I had become a women's liber, pro-choice for a very short time in my life, I had had 2 secret abortions and a miscarriage because of injury by those abortions. And in the late 70s, I was the mother of 1 living child, 2 aborted and 1 miscarried. And I became pregnant, and I was going to get a legal abortion because this was after Roe versus Wade passed on my birthday on January 22nd, 1973. And my granddaddy, I was on my way. I said, "I'm going down to Planned Parenthood. I'm going to get an abortion." He says, wait a minute. That's not a lump of flesh. You call it a blob of tissue. That's my great-grandchild. So this is part of my legacy. I imagine now, as a Christian evangelist, that I was born to proclaim this truth.
I have the goosebumps just hearing your stories, and I know you share these stories, across the country, and you give so much hope to so many people, who are heartbroken and post-abortive. Tell us a little bit about Silent No More. I know you're a voice for that program again under Priests for Life. Tell us about that.
And Rachel's Vineyard. Rachel mourning and weeping and would not be comforted because weeping for her children, but they were no more. That's Rachel's Vineyard, the healing ministry. And then the Silent No More awareness campaign, where we said we're not going to be silent. We're going to speak out that our abortions did hurt us, that we regret those abortions. And that's men and women. And there is a Shockwaves program with Silent No More awareness for 12 different categories of groups of people who regret abortion. So there's one for every month. The woman who aborted the child, the siblings, the grandparents, the doctors, the hospitals. And so many of us have come to regret, the daddies, those abortions. So I am a spokesperson for Silent No More Awareness Campaign. And I also give my testimony of how I found healing at Rachel's Vineyard.
Now, in addition to Rachel's Vineyard and Silent No More, I know a subject that's very, very important to you is how abortion disproportionately impacts African American women. There's not a lot of media coverage on this, but it's heartbreaking when you really get into the numbers. Can you explain that?
Well, we have a very hot topic these days called reparations and who should get reparations and assistance because they've been abused in this nation. And we certainly know that did happen to the slaves in America, but to the Native Americans, for example, to the Jews to a certain extent, and many communities have had reparations. Now, the only reparations that the African American community ever got, because 40 acres and a mule after slavery ended to each group didn't work. We've gotten free abortions and free birth control that is related to cancer and all that, free or low-priced services to underprivileged women. So we were offered abortions and birth control, and everybody else got things like nail shops or beauty supply stores or real estate deals or the reservations that the Native American Indians get. And we do not begrudge any help that anybody ever got. But because we are one blood and one human race, not separate races, we say that it's time now to give reparations to the little babies in the womb. Disproportionate numbers who are Black babies because of the over 60 million that have legally been recorded as aborted since abortion became legal in America in 1973. About 20% of those babies are little Black babies. And yet, we are the lowest number of the population. So Father Frank Pavone puts it this way: you can't serve the public by killing the public. And so the African American community has not been served by those 20 million plus legal abortions.
Well, we could talk to you for hours on this. I mean, you are just such a guiding light on this subject, and we certainly need you all around the country in this message of hope for people who need encouragement and maybe have been where you've been in the past as well. So God bless you. Thank you for your very important work. And yes, you know, God is using you in a mighty, mighty way. We appreciate you being here.
And we're winning because of your courage, your bravery, your courage to ask these questions and to share the answers with your viewers. I thank you for your prayers and your work as well.
And we'll be praying for you.